Hi, I'm Sarah Jane from Natural Heating, and today I'm going to do a video on the Hwam 4640C. Comes in both black and in grey. Now, the lovely people that own this stove are actually my next door neighbours, and they're just about to move into this brand new barn tomorrow, which is still got a bit to be done, but nearing completion enough for them to be able to move in, so it's quite long awaited. So we're going to do the test fire and light up their new stove for the first time, which is always an exciting thing to do. It's roasting today. It's 24 degrees, not the kind of day you really want to be doing stove reviews on a very hot burning stove, but let's crack on. Okay, so it doesn't look so big here, but it is actually a really big stove. It's just also a really big room. Really big room. This stove is a 7 kilowatt nominal heat output, but has a heating range of between 3 and 10 kilowatt to the room. Okay, so the Hwam 4640C is a tall freestanding type stove with a very good low clearance distance to combustibles. This is a sizable stove for big barn conversions in open plan areas like this, if it's a new property or somewhere where you've got a lot of height. It can really command itself in an open space. It's 115 centimetres high, and it's not far off 1.2 metres. It's heading towards 4 foot high. And off the top of my head, I think it's about 600-ish wide. It's got a great big glass door on it, and at the bottom you can see that we've got a log store covered door. So let's take a bit of a closer look. Hwam also make a 420C, which is just a shorter version of this same model, and it comes in both black and in grey. We do stock the grey in both sizes. Black is probably more popular, but it's just, grey is very soft, and in this room where when you've got a lot of light and windows, grey can be a nice colour to have because it's just a much softer effect. And if I just whiz around here, do you see they've got kind of bluey coloured sofas? It really does go well with the grey. So when we open the bottom door, and the inside is where we have the log store type area that you can put whatever you like in. We've also got some kindling in here already. And this is the air control, which operates from the bottom closed to the top on high. You only have the one air control on this model. It does all the bottom air control itself. So here we have the air control on this stove, which is a semi-automatic type stove. I'll show you the controls on this fully a bit later when I get back to the office. But basically the control at the top is currently fully on, where the little dot is to the wider point, and off or low when it's down to the bottom. It's got a good big ash pan on runners, which you really need your 2 hands to open. That is just the smoke pellet from testing that's in the ash pan at the minute. It's a good sizable ash pan and a good sizable storage area. Now this stove has a direct air spigot already fitted to it, which can go. Now this stove already has a direct air spigot option fitted to it as standard. It goes in 2 directions. It can come out the base and through the floor, or it can go straight through the back through another junction box bit like this that's on the back. I don't know if we can get to it to see, but we'll have a go. These guys decided they didn't want an air hose out the back because they decided to fit it quite a long way off the wall. Now, this stove can actually fit as close as 7 centimetres to the wall, and they've actually got a substantial gap. They've got at least 12 inches, if not 14 inches forward of the wall here. But the reason for that was due to the penetration point of the roof and the fact that to get through the gap in between the joists and the roof, they were going to have to use bins. And they decided that it's such a big space, that they would rather have a straight flue and no bins than they would have it too close to the wall. So the brackets aren't too obnoxious when you stand back at a distance, as you can see. So we light it up pretty much like we light up any other new stove. A couple of logs in the bottom and a pile of kindling. We start our kindling fire, and we always stack it like Jenga, and fire lighter. I've got one in my pocket, and then we'll stick another few of these on top, and then a blowtorch. Just because I need one hand. And then we can shut the door over, get your vents fully open. You can shut the door over and leave it slightly ajar till it gets to take. Now this is actually quite a big firebox, so I'll put a piece of that small stuff on top. This is the same stove as I've got live in the showroom at Natural Heating, only we've got a black one. And I actually had one of the same stove but in a shorter height in my previous house. And this and the Heta Ambition really are truly one of my, well, my top 2-3 all-time favourite stoves that I've ever used. They really are that good. It's very low in fuel consumption, it gets up to temperature nice and quick, it's got a beautiful big glass, it goes low to combustibles, it has a semi-automatic air control to help itself burn cleaner and more efficiently. So you do minimal, really, once it's up to temperature, other than open the door and put a log in. You hardly ever need to touch the air controls. It really is that simple. I love it so much that in the new house where we've moved into, where we've got 2 Ambitions currently, I do plan to put another one of these in. I just need to wait on some other work being done before I'm ready to have another one myself. And I'm going to have a grey one this time. I had a black one last time. I must say, I do love both colours. What you will notice though is you don't really see the dust on a grey stove, whereas you see every little speck on a black stove. So sometimes a grey stove can be a really nice option that a lot of people don't consider enough. This stove's a wee bit dusty, so let's have a look. Now you've got to remember this is a building site and these guys are far from finished but about to move in. There's still buckets full of rubble and stuff out there because they are just clearing up, ready to move in. Now, that's the dust that you can see on the top, but there's hardly anything there, look. Now with that black, it really would be dirty. It would show up really badly. But silver pipe and grey stoves are very, very forgiving. You just don't see anything from a distance. So the paint finish typically doesn't show up grubby or worn as quickly. And typically I find grey is a bit less maintenance than what black is. There's no extra cost in this model from having grey to having black. It just is what it is, and it depends what your stockist has in stock. If they don't have grey, they can order grey for you. I keep both grey and black in hand. Looks black on my camera from this angle, but we are now 7:20 at night and the light is starting to go down a bit. It's in the wrong side of the room to be able to show you, but the colour is easy. Let me try around here. It's very soft. Does that help? Now, while that is just picking up, let me tell you a bit more else. I don't know if I can stick the camera up the back of the fire so you can see the airbox. I can't see now. I was just going to show you the rear air intake bit, but I can't get to it. When you fit one of these Hwams, this stove can go as close as 7 centimetres to the wall. 7 centimetres is only like this, it's less than 3 inches. That's very close to an internal combustible wall, really close. So it just makes everything a complete doddle. However, you really do want to be leaving at least 10 centimetres at the back where possible, because when and if you ever need to service the control panel is behind here. So this whole back panel of the stove comes off to get to where the mechanisms are. And there is a coiled spring inside the back of the baffle, which is easy to get to, but the control rods that operate the draw of the air system are just down behind here. So as long as you've got 4 inches, 100mm space behind the back of the stove, you've got adequate space to ever get in there without having to undo the actual stove. Now the kindling pile is pulling away really nicely now, so I'm just going to shut the door and let it come up to temperature. I've never had any issues with trying to get these heated up and up to temperature. They're very easy to operate. The one that I had in our previous house was an absolute dream to use, which is why it's one of my favourite stoves. We had terrible downdraft issues in that house, and I really should have put an anti-downdraft cowl in. I didn't, and I didn't do it on purpose, for a reason being that I knew how to clear it, and I knew that any stove that I put in test in my old house, if I had to battle with it and I couldn't get round it, then a customer never would. So I like to make sure that a stove was going to perform. This one just never gave me any trouble. It didn't matter what the weather was. It didn't matter that every other stove I'd ever fought with didn't fight with this. It really didn't. It was just an absolute doddle. I'm standing a good 2 meters in front of this, and it is warm here today, but I'm already feeling the heat kicking out the front of it. So I don't think I'm going to be doing a long video today, because look at the colour of me already. It's baking, and I don't stand the heat anyway. Fire heat, different story. I don't do summer. I'm a bit more of a winter girl. So there you go, it's coming up to temperature nice and quickly. The baffle, which you'll see is black with carbon in the inside, is already starting to clear in the middle. And can we open the door just to let you see? Can you see better now? So you'll see that there's still some black on that baffle. The black that's on that baffle is carbon, just burning off as it's getting to temperature. But my bottom logs are on fire and burning nicely. There's plenty of heat in there, and it's clearing down nice and quick. Another few minutes and that'll all have gone. Now, on this stove, the handle is hollow. And you can see here, there's a little air hole, and it's hollow at the bottom. And this handle is air cooled, and it doesn't ever get hot. I know that for a fact. I've been burning one pretty much every day in the shop in natural heating for about the last 2 years. It gets hot. The sides get a little bit hot. I think the side clearance is 40 centimetres from combustibles on the side, which is about 16 inches, which is to about here. But it is only 40 centimetres on the side, which is about 16 inches. But on the back, it's only just under 3 inches, so not very much at all, 7 centimetres. This stove will run as low as 3 kilowatt to the room or as high as 7, literally depending on how much air you allow into the firebox and also how many logs you put on it. Once you've got a hot red ember base. So this stove will run as low as 3 kilowatt and as high as 10 kilowatt. That depends on how many logs you put in the firebox and how much air you've got going through it. You can see the baffle at the top here. Now it's clearing quite nicely. Now I'm videoing it backwards. It's just dead simple. It's one of the simplest, easiest stoves I've ever lit. Once you've got your log pile lit and ignited, and you've got to the point where you're shutting the door, after that there's nothing else to do but put wood in when it needs it. And the amount of heat you get is literally down to how many logs you put in the door and what your airflow is. If it's a sluggish day, give it a bit more air. If you're already at temperature and you've got a good ember bed, you can go right down to 1 log and minimal air setting, and it'll still burn to keep itself clean, because it just readjusts its bottom air control to suit accordingly. You do always need to reload on a chunky red ember bed, like barbecue coals. Don't just get it down to tiny red ember. You want chunky red ember. We'll take a bit of a look at chunky red ember and reload points later. The twin wall flow system that we've used on this is 6-inch internal diameter, and this is Shido Eco ICID, which is a really good brand that doesn't ever give us any problems, and our fitters like to install. What you're seeing here, if you can see, is an adjustable starter length. So the collar is on the underneath and it slides up and down as they're installing it, which gives us this lovely straight finish to the top of the stove. You've probably seen them ugly bumped out connectors that some companies put on the top of stoves. I think they look really fugly. They're not pretty at all. They look unfinished and untidy. I like to see a flue where you have in a twin wall go right down flush and hard to the stove. And the other good thing about these connection joints is there's a sort of sliding bit in the inside of it. So if you ever had to pull this out to either change it or to do any maintenance work, you can get the stove out without disrupting any of the rest of the installation. So it's a 5-minute job for your fitter to get it in and back out. Plus, don't you think it looks smart? Here's a wee secret. Typically, when it's one of the jobs that I've had the fitters arrange for you and I've supplied your stove and your flues and all the rest of it, when the guys come to site, I don't usually get to be with you on the day. So I send you a couple of little natural heaters and coffee mugs and some kindling and some firelighters and some kiln dry wood so they can get your fire up to temperature. And I've now also got a QR code card that explains all about lighting your first fire and what and how to do it. That's a private link video for customers. There's extra videos for shop customers so they have extra help if and when they ever need it. That's what it's all about. We're there for the extra standby. But isn't that just gorgeous? So let's pretend we're sitting over here on the sofa and we're miles away. Miles and miles away. This is a massive room. Really massive. But you can see that even from away over here, there's a really good view of the fire. Spectacular. I could sit and watch that all night. Now that's up to full temperature, I'm just going to turn the air control down. Now this air control does get hot. It won't be hot yet because I've just lit the fire. It takes about 5 or 10 seconds to bring the air into check. Quite literally, because it's quite a smooth operating system within the stove, but that's just burning lovely and slow and burn off all the carbon now. But it has got a very spectacular burn on this. I'll turn it back up. I need to bake the paint on anyway. Now, that air control that I was manually adjusting by hand is the only part that does get hot. You do need a glove for that. There is one provided. It's a shame they couldn't keep it cool. That's the only thing that I can tell you that I don't like about that stove is the air control gets hot. The handle doesn't get hot, but the air control gets hot. Once you have this stove at the temperature you want to be burning it at, you never need to touch it anyway. So typically it's only ever cold when I'm using it. The rest of the time I just open the door and put a log in and leave it to its own devices. I've just finished videoing inside and I'm now outside, and this is the flue from their roof next door. Now this is what we call a round top anti-downdraft kill, and we're using these a lot on installations because they help stop blowing wind back down through the chimney and help prevent rain getting blown in through the sides, so they offer a lot more protection than a standard kill. And given the last winter or two we've had driving wind and rain, which has been really bad. I try where possible just to put an anti-downdraft cowl on, not as standard. As you can see, it's not obnoxious, in your face, horrible. It's quite a standard, slender cowl. Looks okay, but it does the job, and it saves a lot of callbacks and a lot of problems for people that are struggling with water ingress and rain and wind noise, because it eliminates the vast majority of those issues. Well, it's nearly a week later. I started that video last weekend and I just haven't had time to do anything. So I thought I'd get caught up and try and get finished. And as you can see, I'm still in at work, Friday night. Nothing better to do, is there? Just keep working, keep playing. I like fires anyway. So while I'm in here, I was just about to put some stock away and thought maybe you would like to see one of these anti-downdraft kills up close. Just opening the box. Right. So this is a 5-inch Eco ICID round top anti-downdraft kill in black. So it's easier if I put it on the floor, probably, to get further away with the phone. Let me adjust. So this is the pigeon's view from the top down. So yeah, pigeons can sit on there. There's still somewhere for them to sit. But as you can see, with this band round the middle, it prevents direct rain and wind blowing into your flue. But there is lots of space for the clearance for the evacuation of gases. So this just helps stop the driving wind and rain, both noise and ingress. In other words, it getting blown back down or getting wet down the inside. Nothing's totally going to stop it, of course not, but this will greatly eliminate a lot of it. And with the way the weather has changed in the last year or two, almost everybody at some point will experience some downdraft or weather issues. So, do you know what? This just prevents the majority of the callbacks. They are more expensive, but we put these on all the flue fitting jobs because it's just less hassle. Nobody needs the hassle. Nobody's going to want the cost of somebody else coming back out to change a kill, so it's easier to put the more expensive one on to start with. Right, okay, back in the showroom, and I bet you thought you'd got rid of me so far. Well, not quite yet. Anyway, here is the Hwam 4620C, which is the shorter baby brother of the 4640C. It's just height difference. They're exactly the same internals. One's black, one's grey, one's tall, one's short. And other than that, it's the same unit. It's my floor that's unlevel, not the fire, by the way. Everything's a bit wobbly wonky in here, being an industrial unit, and it's just how it is. Anyway, this one just has a really short store air underneath, and the short one, ideal for kindling, not much any good for anything else. I had one of these in our previous house, and I am about to have one of these again. And I actually had mine custom modified the last time. I had this lower box here completely cut off and re-welded back on in the engineering shop because I wanted one of these so bad and just wouldn't fit in our house. Because really the performance on this is just incredible. It really is a brand new model. And if you have somewhere that sometimes you need a lot of heat, sometimes you don't need very much, or you've got a big rambling space, these are just fabulous. They really are great. We had a big open plan living area and with underfloor heating in our last place, and sometimes we needed a lot, especially when the heating wasn't working, which was quite often until it got fixed. And other times you only really wanted a minimal amount of heat because it was warm enough and we just wanted to top up, like in autumn or late spring. Don't know about you, I'm still occasionally lighting my fire now for a couple of hours in the evening at home, because although I've switched the central heating off, it can still get a bit chilly at night, and I can get cold when I'm at home. And my husband will sit in the other room because he's too hot, and I'll go and light the fire, and mine snuggle up with a blanket and a kitten. Anyway, this is what all of these stoves have inside. And I'm hoping I can get away with videoing this one, so I've got my tripod set up right. But this is the back of the stove. That's what's under behind this back panel at the back. And there is your coil that's behind the baffle. So just to let you see. Right, no luck. It's easier if I just hold it and video it. You can't do it from a distance on a stand. This is the downside of trying to do stuff on your own when it's 8 o'clock at night. Everybody's gone outside, you've not got any help in, and you need more hands than you've got, and I'm not an octopus. And it doesn't matter whether I put this on a stand or what I do, I just can't get it to do what I want to do with one hand. So I might need to have another go at this tomorrow and then add that bit in. Maybe you'd like to see the outtakes. I need a coffee. And I calm down. And I would say a glass of wine, but I don't drink wine. Coffee. Coffee and a chill out, and then I make the cake for shop tomorrow, because there is usually always homemade cake on a Saturday. That'll be my evening then. And cuddle the cat. And put the washing in the washing machine. See you tomorrow. Do you know what? I was going to go home, but I can't leave a job half done. I hate leaving things half done. I've got to finish it, or I'll never finish it. So I'm going to put the lights back on and have a go at the go. Now I've calmed down a bit. Right, okay, let's see. Is it going to kick my ass? Probably. I don't know what just one of them days. We've all got them, haven't we? Right, this is the control panel for the Hwam. This is what is behind your stove at the back. It looks quite complicated, and as sorta is and as sorta isn't. You don't need to know all about it. We'll tell you what you do need to know. Inside the stove, above the baffle at the back, is a biometallic coil. So as that coil heats up, it expands and moves the air control. So if the stove is too cold, let's open the air. See, the air's open. But when the stove is cold and it needs more air at the top, as this coil heats up and expands, you can see it allows more air in. And then as it cools, it shuts as it cools and the coil relaxes, it basically shuts itself back down again. So although it's automatic, there's nothing there that holds a set exact temperature. It's not scientific that it's going to hold this at exactly 367 degrees. There will be some variance, but it knows that as that expands and contracts, or it's getting too cool, that it needs to give the fire and the chimney more air to give it more draw to burn off more carbon. So it's very, very clever in how it works. What that means is you don't have to fiddle with the air control all the time. You get the flue system nice and hot. And once that flue system is nice and hot, then as it cools down and the fire's burning out, the stove will automatically increase its own air to burn off cleaner, so that you've got a cleaner burn, less deposit in the gases, cleaner chimney, better fuel consumption. It's lovely to use. It really truly is, because it kind of just does its own thing, and you end up with a nice, near enough clean glass by the time you're done, and very little debris, and the ash that these stoves make, it really is minimal. It's not something for the end. It's not something for the end user to be fiddling with. It's something for the fitter really to be fiddling with. If and when they have to, it's going to be a very rare occurrence that you need to reset or recalibrate this unit. But just in case it did, for any reason, it's always handy to leave at least 100mm or 10 centimetres from the back of the stove forward of the wall to allow access, should it ever be required. I've never needed to yet, but if it ever arrives, it just makes the job easy. So if you can, you know why. So I am just going to take my devil kindling pile out the fire. This is the baffle at the top with one hand, because it's that easy. There we go. There's the baffle out. Now, it's a bit dark in here. There's these side things. Can I do this with one hand? I don't know if I can see the top of it there. I'm not letting enough light in. Ah, here's an R clip. Right, okay. R clip off. Whoops. Oh, can you see? Let's see if we can zoom in. I don't want to take the whole stove to bits, but there's the biometallic coil that is behind the baffle. This other thing comes out too, and that allows easy cleaning access for your sweep to get his brushes and things through the flue. Plenty of room. If I can get my hand through there, he's going to get his brush through there. So it's dead easy access. The panels all lift out easily. From a servicing point of view, it's a doddle. I'm just going to pop this one back together. Right, so now I've done that, I can chill out a bit. I am a bit of a stress bunny, I'm afraid. Well, this one here is my display model in the shop. So this one's my display model in the shop, and kind of could do with a good polish. It's just that time of year. I'm in the process of sweeping chimneys and stuff. This unit is about 2 years old. It's been in daily use all through the winter, at least 12 hours a day, sometimes 18. Yeah, really 18. Monday through to Saturday, so 6 days a week for about the last 2 years. And it only gets about a week off at Christmas, because other than that, I work all year round. So I just keep all my junk in the lower firebox area. And I've got my fire lighters in there, and I have my cooking grills, my Hellfire cooking grill and pizza cooker. So we do steaks and flatbreads and things on there. And that's interchangeable with different parts. They've been in some of our other videos. That's the big one at the bottom. This is the smaller set. So they live underneath here. Here's the condition of the firebox. Bear in mind this stove's a couple of years old and been heavily used. The bricks are almost immaculate condition, apart from that great big chunk. And that big chunk was me knocking it off with a cast iron grill when I was putting it in the inside the week I put the stove in brand new. But this stove has been in the unit on live lit display as the main unit now for longer than I have ever had any other stove in the showroom, and that firebox needs nothing done to it. I've not redone the ropes, I've never changed the glass, hardly ever. It's not had a polish ever since I put it in. Now, these are the cast iron doors. So the cast iron, this is the C door, and the C stands for cast, the M is for modern. And where it's the modern door, you have a glass outer with a glass frame inner. Break one of those is very expensive. In comparison, although these glasses are shaped in all the Hwams, the ones with the cast iron doors I prefer, because I think they are a bit more classical, a bit more timeless. They don't quite look so modern and glitzy and in your face. The other ones are really lovely too. They are, if you like something really, really modern. And I'm not quite that modern. I'm more traditional, and I like something a bit more toned down a touch. So personally, I prefer the cast iron doors. The more modern doors with the fancy glitzy glass doors are £200–300 more per model. So I tend to stick to the more basic cast doors because it's not the price. I just prefer them, and I find that we sell far more of them than the modern door options. I don't install a flue like what we've got in here. What way am I pointing? It's because I'm doing it backwards. I wouldn't put a flue like that in somebody's house. That is a heat retardant panel that's behind the stove anyway, because there's been lots of different stoves in here. And that is a V-lays wall panel behind that, just because I've never taken it down. And the flue pipe gets pulled in and out, so there's just an adjustable length on the top, thinking that that would be changed regularly, and it never has been. Yeah, I don't think there's much more I can tell you on this one. I'll show you mine when I get it in, but I need the plumber to come first and drain the heating system, because there's a boiler unit in there at the moment in the kitchen, an old Aga type thing, and I need it out so I can put a dry unit in there. I need to phone Jeff and chase him, because he's not been to see me yet. Jeff, come on. You said you were coming last week. Right, okay, I'm going to leave you guys to it, and I will see you very soon, because it's time I go home. Night-night.